Right. Welcome back, everybody, to Unfiltered and Unqualified. We are so excited to be here and to have some ladies on for the night. This is a particularly exciting episode because it's going to be our first reaction episode, particularly a reaction between, we're basically just going to go through a bajillion stats of differences between men and women. But I don't have to simply make you labor with your imagination. Oh, what a overdue task that is. No, 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 fear not, for I have visuals to help substitute this. Oh no, yikes! Oh no, wrong button, wrong visuals. Everyone, close your eyes. Okay,
Oh no!
okay, all right.
Or we could do emojis, yeah.
Whoa, I love it.
Yes, emojis will actually be needed today because basically we're going to be watching the reaction video and whenever you want me to stop the video so that you can make a comment on one of the stats she's going to list, just do a hand, the like raise hand emoji thing. But basically, the title of this video is 50 Real Differences Between Men and Women. It is by the channel Brave the World. And the reason why I want to go over this video is pretty much three reasons. A, I I want to do this video to talk about gender stereotypes and I guess you could say like expectations and norms, but iterate that these are averages and not everyone fits an average. And that's okay. You don't need to have guilt if you feel like you're outside of an average. Next, I also want to reinstate the idea for our kids or emphasize the idea that in order that to better control your reality, you need to live in reality. And I think that it is very dangerous to say there are no differences between the genders and very dangerous to assume that a difference is wrong. I guess I feel like we kind of have the two extremes. On one end, if you don't fit into a gender norm, I think you can feel ostracized and misunderstood and not valued. And on the other end, if you are if you feel like you um, don't have any gender norms and there shouldn't be, you're going to be misunderstanding how to interact with the opposite gender. I think in a lot of occasions. Um, and finally, kind of leading in from the last point, I after watching this video, there was just several times where I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so funny!" Like I see that difference between Brooklyn and I. Understanding biology helps with marriage in more ways than just sex, you guys. Uh,
What?
yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. Uh, I think that men and women have different uh, mannerisms for thinking through things, and hearing those differences makes it easier to identify those. So when you have some sort of disagreement or some sort of misunderstanding, it can, knowing where you might be thinking different can help you more quickly reconnect, reunite, and get on the same page. So that's my reasons for why I want to go over this. Final disclaimer is I did realize right before we started that this is actually kind of an old video. It's about a decade old.
Whoa.
So there might be some outdated stats. I don't think there is, at least my personal opinion slash preference is I would assume there's not, because I don't think our genes have changed within the last 10 years. So I assume most of the stats still stand. But it's just a disclaimer I want to have out there.
I don't know,
So
Joe. I
without
went to
further ado,
American Eagle just last year. Got some new ones, so
ah, darn it, Tanner messed up the whole video, man.
mm,
Yeah, without further ado, and I also changed my mind. You guys feel free to unmute yourselves. You don't have to do the hand raise thing. When you want to talk, just start talking and I'll pause the video.
Sweet.
Um, without further
Excited.
ado, we'll just watch this thing, and we also don't need to go through all of it. It's not super long, but if we stop it often, this could take a while. So, which we might not. It's also just interesting to listen to. We do need to make sure we do some stops though, otherwise we're going to get total copyright infringements, and I am not sure where that line is. So, don't let it go too long.
It's okay. I don't
All right.
think we're running ads on our videos, so
Oh yeah, that's it. Okay. Okay. Here we go. We will start.
Brain scans, controlled studies, evolutionary psychology, and anthropology demonstrate that men and women are not the same. We are physically and mentally different. We input, process, and deliver information differently. We evolved with different priorities, and we are marinated in different combinations of hormones. This leads to a misaligned interpretation of reality, which creates conflict, not only in our love lives, but in our family lives and the lives of our children. The following is a list of 50 of these differences. Perhaps if we're aware of them, we can interact with more empathy and better logic.
All right. Let's do it. Exciting.
Men and women don't see in the same way. From the very start of light hitting the retina to the information arriving in the cerebral cortex, the process is different in males and females. For example, the male retina is thicker, it has more M cells. M cells are larger and are distributed across the retina. M cells are responsible for tracking the movement of objects. The female retina is thinner. It has more P cells. P cells are smaller and concentrated around the center of the retina. P cells are responsible for identifying objects and analyzing color and texture. Female babies like faces, male babies like moving
Mama Look is
objects.
real.
This isn't surprising.
What was that, Nephi?
I was just saying, like a mama look. I feel like growing up, we were always like, oh, who do we ask when we need to find something? Like, oh yeah, we can ask lots of different people. And we didn't feel like anyone was really like bad at finding things, but just that like whenever mom would come to look for something, we'd always call it a mama look because she would find it like right away.
It's not truly lost until mom can't find it.
That's it. That's it.
I guess. See, and isn't that? I think that's the killer point, Nephi. Bravo. And I think that connects back to the third point of how knowing something like that can avoid some marital frustration. Because how frustrating is it for mom when dad's like, I can't find this or I haven't seen this, and the mom's like, it's like right here. But she's like, oh man, you didn't even look, you lazy. But it's like, no, you're literally better at this, built better than me for this. I don't kind of.
Men
I
are
don't know
meant
how
to
far
pick-
you can take it. But
women meant to pick Barry.
that's right. There you go. Yeah, that's so cool, Nephi. Thanks for connecting that for me. Yeah.
As we just learned, males and females see differently. Over 100 infants were studied on the day of their birth. They were given the choice between looking at a moving mobile or a young woman's face. The researchers were not told the sex of the baby while they recorded the baby's eye movement. The boys were twice as likely to gaze at the dangling mobile, while the girl babies were more likely to look at the face. Boys and girls like to draw different things. Most little girls like drawing people, plants, and animals, arranged symmetrically and facing the viewer. They're more likely to use lots of colors, and the colors they do use tend to be warm. Boys mostly draw action scenes with dynamic movement. It's not common for them to use more than 6 colors, and when they do use colors, they tend to be cool. If you find yourself thinking, okay, who cares, kids draw different stuff, keep in mind that most early grade school teachers tend to be female with a feminine bias. They tend to favor girls' drawings to be the correct type of art, which can put boys off art forever. And it goes way beyond boys doing poorly in art class. I always see headlines like, boy suspended for drawing a gun. I think if teachers were aware of these hardwired differences, they would stop raising concerns about boys depicting violent scenes. We should look back to the old proverb, boys will be boys. Take a deep breath and relax. Females.
I always knew I was born to be a famous artist.
Kindergartner, squeeze that out of you, crush that out of you, huh, Nephi?
Changed me forever.
You look like you got something to say there, Kyla.
Oh, I was just saying, I hate that phrase, like, boys will be boys. Not my boys. No, that's going to be better than that. It
Well,
takes
and it's an
Yeah,
interesting question, like to what degree do you take that phrase? You know, like should you not refine? I don't know to what degree is a boy's drawings too violent, or when do you refine that?
I just think you shouldn't excuse bad behavior. It's not bad behavior to draw an action scene, right? But if that starts affecting actions in daily life, and if they're being like mean to their siblings or whatever, that's a problem. And we can't just excuse it and say boys will be boys. It's not, that saying should not be an excuse, is what I think.
But like if like boys are playing in the backyard and they get hurt, and that's kind of like boys will be boys.
Sure, but if it comes
Yeah,
down
I
to
can.
touching other people, we don't use that as an excuse, right? It
I
shouldn't.
Yeah.
I can see. At least I hope I'm not uh making you feel like I'm bulldozing over you, Kyla. But I think I understand what you're saying, and I think I agree that there is definitely some nuance with this phrase. In the way that she used it, right? Look, a boy who draws a picture of a gun shouldn't be kicked out of school. Um, in a way, it feels like she's kind of still manning the argument of the phrase "boys will be boys," and I feel like when you were describing the phrase, I'm imagining, I don't know, some father who comes home and just wants to go hang out with his friends at the bar every day from work, and that's just all he does. And the wife I don't know, the next door neighbor wife says, "Oh, well, boys will be boys. That's what they want to do." And you're like, "No, like my family needs a husband." So I, uh, I guess I feel like you're right. It's not like it doesn't excuse everything, and I don't think that's what you meant it to be either. She kind of made it come across a little bit like that though. But I guess regardless of the phrase, um, one, I don't know, what was your guys' insights with the pictures? It really surprised me, the different art style design, and man, like I could totally see, right? This like school teacher who's loved these beautiful pictures and art, and when a boy has an all black picture of just a bunch of fighting and oh death, guts, and oh you can, I don't know. I feel sympathy for future Tommy because I could see the teacher being like, Tommy, try drawing something else. Isn't that like, wow? But just knowing that he might be kind of like wired to do that, oh man, I think it gives you a freedom because you no longer feel like that boy is the problem or defective.
Right. So
Um,
my brother Corbin, right? He's an artist. He's studying illustration at school and everything. He's always been into art his whole life. But I honestly can't remember many times he's used more than 2 or 3 colors max, But for him, when he
no
was
way.
little, one of the things he did these, he called them napkinations. And he would take the stack of napkins in the kitchen and he would pull out some napkins and draw a little comic on it and then like stick them in randomly. And so sometimes you go to pull out a napkin and it has like this little comic on it. So I'm pretty sure my dad just has like this whole bag of napkins safe somewhere with Corbin's drawings on them. So it totally makes sense to my mind. Like comics, right? It's something actionable, something happening. But they're all just black and white, just, pencil. That's
Oh,
it. So that totally checks out what
That's
she's
so
saying,
cool.
at least for like me and my brothers.
wow. What a cool personal example. Thanks. Man, next time when Brooke and I someday have a boy and he's drawing on all the napkins and doing action scenes, I'm glad to know that there's a like personal example to tell me that it's okay. I like Corbin. I think he turned out okay.
Mhm.
He's a good kid.
Uh,
I just have one more
all right,
thought. I
go
think maybe
ahead.
part of the use of the saying "boys will be boys" is like well, I don't know if it's used more often by women or men, but it seems like it's a way of brushing off a lack of understanding, right? So women say, "Oh, boys will be boys," because they're not saying, "Oh, yes, this is what boys do," but they're saying like, "Oh, yeah, I don't know what boys do, but when it's weird or when it's not proper, when, I don't know, when it doesn't fit with what we're doing, then oh, they're just boys, instead of understanding like, oh, boys specifically do this. I guess it's a little nuanced, but there feels like a difference there.
Yeah,
I like that
rather than
idea.
using it as
Might,
an excuse. I like that.
yeah, where it might not make sense to the school teacher why those boys would want to only draw in black, but she knows they are. Cool. Well, as you can see, we might not finish this video tonight. We're only on number 4, but I'm loving this, you guys. I've been really looking forward to this video, so I'll keep us going. Thanks for the awesome insights.
Hear better than males. In the language and hearing centers of the brain, females have 11% more neurons than males. Females not only hear better, but they can discern between a broader range of emotional tones in the human voice. This is probably because babies! And it's a skill we're born with. A study of infants on the day of their birth showed that girls will respond more to the cries of other babies than boys. Hey, soft-spoken female teachers! Before you label your little boys with attention deficit, try moving them to the front of the class. They probably can't hear you. Music affects us differently. Premature baby...
Funny. So whenever I'm like, what? There's a biological reason for it. Let's go.
Isn't that funny? That's like, I don't know, there's going to be more examples like that, Tanner, to where when I was watching this thing, I was like, oh my gosh. Like, we are just different people, and it's okay. And it's funny how easy it is to offend each other because we are assuming that the other individual is having our experience, but it might not be. And maybe your hearing is bad, Tanner. So
Yeah, maybe
you might
it
have the
is.
worst of multiple worlds.
But I'm gonna use my biology as an excuse to sleep through my alarm now.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah. Good luck with that, man. Good luck with that.
Kyle just have to
Girls
put
who
it closer
received
to your
music-
ear then.
Sorry, I cut you off there. Say that
I
again,
just
love.
said Kyla will just have to put it closer to your ear then, Tanner. Make sure
Uh-huh.
you hear it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Crying baby doesn't wake him, so
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, I'll try to get this back a little more. Let's see.
Music affects us differently. Premature baby girls who received music therapy had fewer complications, grew faster, and were able to be discharged faster than those who did not. There was no effect on premature boys. Males will automatically block out certain sounds. A study in the Netherlands monitored the brain activity of 17 to 25-year-old males and females while they listened to white noise and music. The females had an intense response to both sounds. The males responded to the music but deactivated to the white noise, as though they didn't even hear it. This may be because during male fetal brain development, testosterone impacts the formation of the auditory system, making it block out unwanted noise and repetitious acoustic stimuli. This is a huge issue in male-female relationships. A girl will say something to the guy and he won't hear her. She will repeat herself several times, which then makes his brain interpret her voice as unwanted, repetitious acoustic stimuli. And before you know it, it devolves to, he never listens, or she's always nagging. And a lot of us will get stuck in a feedback loop of unwanted behavior, creating this fascinating chicken or the egg scenario. Does my mom repeat herself 500 times because my dad can't hear her? Or does my dad tune her out because she's repeating herself? Females can...
I love hearing this one because I think it shows how learning more about reality helps you better control it. Now knowing this, as a man, I need to be extra conscientious and aware when I think my wife is trying to tell me something, because odds are more likely she might be, and it just kind of got muted out. And in contrast, for Brooklyn, extra patience may be required, or just extra effort to make sure that I am listening in the first place, before there's feelings of being ignored. That was my take. And anyone else have a thought on that one? That was one of my favorites from this video.
I don't know. Do you
Yeah,
feel like
that was
me
interesting.
for you?
Well, I feel like not even about just me talking or anything, but the whole white noise idea, or like, when you turn on the fan above the stove, I hate that. And I always grew up in a dark, quiet room, and then we get married and we have to have white noise. We have a fan running, and I've gotten used to the fan now. But like, if it gets too loud or anything, if the fan starts to malfunction or whatever, it starts to be a little louder. It is so overstimulating, and it doesn't seem to bother you at all. But I hate it. And then one of the most relieving things, like when I'm cooking, is turning off that fan when I'm done cooking. It's like, oh, life is good again. I hate it, and I think that makes sense. I'm just way more sensitive to the white noise and everything. It doesn't bother Tanner at all.
And isn't it that like freeing to learn that neither of you are like defective in any way for those preferences? Like your brain is legit different than his, and like vice versa. Like to put the same expectations on each other makes the game hard right out the get-go. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm talking too much. I thought it looked like
sometimes cooking.
I thought it looked like you wanted to say something, love.
Nope, I was just taking my microphone off for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Wow. I'm
Nephi
loving all these games.
did something.
Thank you. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was just agreeing. I think it's interesting. I feel like this is probably one of those ones that I feel like I'm probably more different than the stereotypical, because I feel like with companions, with roommates, all of that, like I feel like most of them just like leave a light on, or like specifically with hearing, I guess, just like leave like background noise on, or a fan, or a ceiling fan or something like that, like Kyla said at the kitchen stuff. And I don't know, it drives me crazy, especially like if it's a fan in the bathroom. Even if it's like 2 closed doors away, I can still hear it, and it just frustrates me. I'm like, oh man. But even just with me, I feel like it's like nobody else that I know feels that way. So like if I'm even just like sitting in the living room, and then finally someone turns off like the bathroom fan, I'm like, oh, that's nice. And then like my roommate next to me was like, wait, what was that? And I was like, the fan was just really loud. And they're like, oh, I didn't even know it was on, or things like that,
And you aren't crazy, Nephi. Or I guess maybe they aren't crazy. I guess you are crazy because you are the statistical abnormality. But it's okay to be a statistical minority, and
Yeah.
to recognize that in yourself. I think it's so freeing. I don't know. I feel like I might have stepped on your toes a little bit too much there. I love you, and I think you're
No, that
valuable,
was
even
great.
if fans fuck you. Okay, well, I'll get us going on number 7 then.
Verbally express their emotions better than males. The key word here is can, as in have the ability to. This is not, as some may have you believe, a difference caused by societal gender norms. This is a legitimate brain difference. MRIs were used to examine how motion is processed in the brains of boys and girls ages from 7 through to 17. They found that in children, negative emotions were localized in the primitive area of the brain, the amygdala. This part of the brain has few direct connections to the language and reasoning center in the cerebral cortex, which is why it's difficult for most kids to verbally express how they feel. Then in adolescence, a large portion of the brain activity associated with negative emotions moves up from the amygdala to the cerebral cortex. But this change only happens in females. A study from Germany duplicated this finding and went on to conclude that both positive and negative emotions are processed differently in males and females post-puberty. Judging from this, it's no wonder that men rarely want to talk about it. Men are wired to avoid contact with others when they're going through a rough time, and they even report thinking that women would want to do the same. So before you get mad at your boyfriend for his silence, remember that it's literally difficult for him to verbalize his feelings. Boys naturally use movements to...
Anyone want to say anything before we go on? I don't know if this is necessarily the biggest surprise in the world, but it's fascinating to learn some of the hard science behind it.
So I love history, right? And I was just watching something about President Roosevelt, and his wife and his mom died on the same day within like 2 hours of each other. It was like super, super sad.
Wow.
And, like his wife died because of childbirth, and his mom died because of some other complication. But what he did is he just immediately went up and left to the West for 2 years to become a cowboy. And that's how he dealt with his issues, is he just left and didn't talk about it. literally in his journal, he's like, "This was the worst day of my life," and then he just left. So just think it's interesting that one of the greatest men of our time is, he couldn't express his emotions very well too.
Wow. Dang, what a hardcore example that is. Yeah. Right. Well, rewind this one just a couple seconds and we'll keep going.
That it's literally difficult for him to verbalize his feelings. Boys naturally use movement to think. Boys and girls of grade school age were studied to see how long it would take them to complete conceptual math problems. The boys solved the problems faster than the girls. The researchers noted that when they asked the boys to explain how they got the answer, the boys didn't use any words. They wiggled, acted, and gestured their process. Words were a barrier. So over the next following weeks, the researchers taught the girls to explain their answers with movement. They retested everybody, and the girls were able to solve the problems as fast as the boys. It seems that boys and girls have access to the same circuitry, but they use different circuitry as a default. Groups of boys play differently than
Whoa, I thought that was interesting that they both have access, but they use it differently. So that the ability to come together, have that meeting of the minds is definitely there, but it's on the burden of both sides in order to bridge that gap. That's possible, though. That's cool.
Oof, I love that, Nephi. If you would have wiggled a little more in your explanation, though, I think my man side would have internalized that better. Ah, thank you. Okay, I get it now.
I was actually very curious about that. I've never seen anyone do that before. Like gesture or act out a math problem. Can you boys help me understand what she's talking about?
Yeah, I thought that was fascinating too. I don't know. I'd love to look for it more. I feel like today it wasn't math, but today I have realized, and I was talking to you a little bit about this already, Brooklyn, how sympathetic I'm feeling for the boys in our Sunday school because I feel like Sunday school is built for young girls. You sit down, you be reverent, you hear this spiritual lesson, and you're supposed to, be quiet, respectful, yada yada. Our previous class was all girls, and they were normally so sweet. And now this current class, we have a couple boys in there, and they can get so rowdy and feisty at times. Then wiggle, and I'm just like, wow, like it is. And if I was a grade teacher all day, and half my class is an absolute menace to my attempts to teach, and the other half are reciting back what I'm teaching, like it'd be so easy to view the boys as the problem or as bad behavior. And I think learning stuff like this, um, I don't know, I guess, yeah, today was a particularly hard day with the boys in our class. They were all over the place in the classroom. And part of me, instead of normally feeling frustrated at them, part of me was more and more like, man, why can't we just like run around outside in the woods and then have some correlate like some spiritual moment at the end and be like, what we did today, this run, the how hard you ran and how I wanted you to run 10 miles in 10 minutes and you couldn't do it. Well, with Jesus, you can do anything. I don't know, something cute and silly like that. Yet not silly, but something
Yeah, Joe, that's
more of an
silly.
object lesson like that.
Jesus
Yeah.
can't do anything, Joseph. How dare you insinuate that?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. So I wish I had a math answer for you, Brooklyn. I don't know, but if I were to guess, I could totally see myself being a kid that moved a lot doing math. Um, I just I know when I work on Excel sheets at times, I can be like moving around a lot and be like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I don't know if that's a very good answer for you, but I guess today I felt like in our Sunday school class, I was feeling sympathetic for these little boys who need to sit and be quiet, which is an important skill that they need to have in life, right? Like we do need boys to be reverent. So I guess I just felt a little more sympathetic.
That thought leads me to my next question, which is, I guess, boys have such a hard time in elementary school and kind of, yeah, middle school. Like as they get older, like we don't have these issues in adult Sunday school, right? Like men and women are both just sitting and listening and engaging the same way.
I
So,
would push back a little bit in saying that we might both be able to sit there, but holy cow, it is so easy to clock out when someone's just so boring. And I don't know, but I would guess that more guys are clocked out than girls.
Yeah, I agree with that. Plus, I think that at that point in the older Sunday school groups, we've developed some level of self mastery when it comes to that. And so we don't need to move around as much, or we resist the
yeah,
urge, I guess.
yeah. Well, and then my thought is if if it's possible to develop the mastery of sitting still, is that is it a desirable, like, is it a virtuous state to achieve, or is our society shaped around an incorrect way? If that makes sense, right? Like, is it important for men to be able to sit still and be quiet, or is it a flaw of society for not for expecting them to and putting them into situations where they're supposed to be like women?
I think I would love to hear other people's takes too, but my take is I think it is important and it's a skill to be able to sit and be respectful or reverent. Um, I think that what is difficult is the timetable of how that skill is to be learned. And when boys and girls are in the same age of classes, it's very easy, I think, for boys to become villainized. Villainized, that's a fun word, to be the villains because biologically their development is going to consistently be behind the girls and they will continue to be the ruckus one. So I don't know. Honestly, I've never considered like a charter school where it's like all boys or all girls before, but after watching this video, I was like really intrigued and wanting to look at some of the stats to see if boys in all boy charter schools do better, if they like have better expectations and timetables for them and in different ways. And yeah, I don't know, but anyone want to take a jab at that too, or should we listen to what number 9 is?
Yeah, I don't think it's super clear cut. I think that Joe's right. There is some level of needing to be able to sit down and listen. But yeah, the timetable of like, you're in 6th grade and like, oh, he's not sitting very well for 8 hours and just listening every day. You need to give him a pill and like, because he has ADHD and you need to like repress that using drugs and everything. Then I think that's wrong.
Cool. Thank you, Tanner. I always love hearing people agree with me. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm trying to be funny. If I just am too much full of myself, like let me know and I'll tone it down a bit. But,
You're good. You're good.
okay.
That was funny.
Okay.
Circuitry, but they use different circuitry as a default. Groups of boys play differently than groups of girls. Boys, larger play groups, focus on the game itself, rough and tumble, very competitive, confrontational, establish dominance and test hierarchies, claim territory and monopolize toys, show off their physical strength, struggle for social rank, and are more likely to use threats. Girls, focus on relationship building, take turns 20 times more often than boys do, more likely to make collaborative proposals, and their pretend play is usually about caregiving and relationships. These differences also ring true for close relatives. Long-tailed macaws are 6 times more likely to engage in rough and tumble play, while the female macaws prefer babysitting the baby monkeys. By the time boys are in 1st grade, they'll get a dopamine rush when they display their power. And some studies have indicated that unanimously agreed upon hierarchies are established as early as nursery school and stay stable for at least 6 months. And the boys at the top are not always the biggest. They're the boys who are least likely to back down when it comes to conflict. Even males castrated at birth and raised as female tend to be the dominant ones in the group. The most interesting thing about group play is that girls and boys will naturally segregate unless there's not enough kids. Could it be that kids prefer playing with those who are similar to themselves? Boys and girls play with different toys.
I'll just add real fast. I thought that was, first off, crazy experiment. I'm simultaneously curious, but also just sad to hear. I don't know how it happened, but also interested that just even from birth, a castrated boy just tends to take that dominating role, I guess. Not necessarily dominating, but the forefront of the group, at least.
I didn't totally understand. Just to clarify, are you saying that you have heard about that story, Nephi, and you were just echoing her thoughts of how kind of shocking it is, or were you saying this was your first time hearing of it and you wanted to learn out more about it?
The latter, yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, indeed. Well, I think that was a pretty clear one. So I guess for quiet, I'll keep going. I cut off this sentence. I'm pretty sure she's saying boys and girls like playing with different toys. So instead of rewinding, we'll just keep going.
Toys. A team in Concordia studied almost 100 1.5-year-olds and their preference for toys. The girls had a preference for dolls, and the boys had a strong preference for trucks. Many would argue that this is a socialized gender behavior, but the thing about 1.5-year-olds is that they have a lot of trouble correctly assigning others and themselves the correct gender. And naturally, because the boys develop slightly slower than the girls, they had more trouble assigning other people and themselves the correct gender. If we assume that playing with sex-specific toys is a social construct, then it would make sense for girls to have a stronger preference for girly toys because they have a better understanding of gender. But what they found was the opposite. I'll repeat the results. The girls had a preference for dolls, but the boys had a strong preference for trucks. These results were duplicated in 9-month-olds, which have an even poorer understanding of gender. Even with direct intervention from teachers and parents who encourage gender-neutral play, girls will choose dolls over trucks as soon as they're given the choice. Girls will play with their trucks as though they were babies, and boys will play with their dolls as though they were hammers or swords. Kids are so goddamn sexist. Actually, all mammals are sexist. Male monkeys prefer to play with toy cars, and female monkeys prefer to play with dolls. Young male rats engage in way more rough and tumble play than young female rats. Study any mammal. They'll play differently depending on their sex. Sexism is a hate fact. Boys are more likely to...
Wow. How monkeys pick up on those trends, I do not understand, but
You know,
wow,
I
is all I
think
have
my
to say.
theory on this is that the boys and girls, they're just connecting with their inner monkey, and that's what's making them do this.
So interesting.
It's a socially bad thing. We shouldn't do it if they're just becoming monkeys again, Tanner.
No, return to monkey.
So Ari, for her second birthday, my parents had given her this Bluey car, like one of those that you can actually ride on. You have a little gas pedal and stuff, you know, goes what, like 2 miles an hour. Like it's just, you know, but it actually does work like a little car, right? Anyway, she's never shown like any interest in it. And I mean, she's 3 in a few months now, and she only has just shown interest in it in like the last 2 months.
And that's
She's-
only because her friend Cliff, who is a boy, showed
And
interest in
Levi.
it. And Levi showed interest in it.
Yeah, so she has a lot of boys her age nearby, and so she's played with them a lot. And it is so interesting watching them play together because they do play differently. And oh yeah, when either there's these 2 little boys, yeah, when they come over and play at our house, they beeline it for that little Bluey car, and they will just drive it all day. That's what they want to play with. And Ari, you know,
Wow.
wants to
How
play with all
cute.
sorts of her other toys. They don't have interest in her little Barbie toys or dolls or anything, and they just want the car.
Mhm.
Wow. That is
So interesting.
amazing. What a cool life example there. I think I cut you off in the very beginning, Nephi. Was there something you wanted to say too?
No, I think maybe just one thing to add to that. I love that example of your kids and the friends. I can just think of some people that I know who they tried to raise their kid in a very gender neutral way. Like they always made sure that they provided like a girl toy and a boy toy in each way, and like a girl color and a boy color in each way. And they did that for 3 of their kids, and every single one definitely followed their stereotypical gender role. So like, yeah, the girls would play with the dolls and the boys would play with the trucks. And
No way. You know some? Is it someone in the law school?
no,
Dang. Wow.
yeah, I thought that was very
That's
interesting.
fascinating.
It's funny because when they were
Yeah, what?
explaining it to me, like I didn't even like ask them. I just thought like one of the boys ran up against me with his truck, and I was just like, "Oh, hi," and the mom's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. You know, he just likes playing with this truck." And we even started him out with like all the gender neutral toys, and they just chose these. And then she just went on to explain more, and I was like, "Oh, interesting." But it's funny how she was
Wow.
like trying to make an apology for her children choosing a gender
The
role.
gender preferred,
Yeah,
or yeah, stereotypical.
yeah, that's like stereotypical.
Oh,
Yeah.
see that. What was it? I don't remember which of my points, but I guess that's. I'm trying to carry out a theme throughout all this. So I feel like that ties back to one of my beginning points that I was really trying to do is I think that it's okay to live in reality and that we don't we shouldn't feel guilty if we are conforming to a norm, to a stereotype, you know? Like we shouldn't feel guilty either way. Like if it's okay to be part of the average and it's okay to not as well.
Yeah, I
Unless
like that.
it's stands annoying because that just sounds like a painful trait to have and we don't want our
Yeah,
kids to
that's true. Yeah, maybe I want to swap that one out in the lottery of life again.
Did you have something there, Brooklyn?
Yeah. So it's interesting because um I guess this video and all the strong differences between males and females is kind of, I feel like it's kind of reinstating the logic that's been used in our society for like most of the time until recent history, which is that like it creates such strong social differences between males and females that it doesn't leave a lot of room for someone to feel like it's okay for them to not fit their gender norm. And so it's interesting because I feel like this video is in part trying to like reclaim the gender differences, maybe as like a timely pushback to like gay and transgender ideas, right? But in some ways it seems like it's reaffirming the problem of the fact that some people who are gay might just feel really ostracized and really don't fit in when there's even biology that holds these social expectations of people and the biology doesn't match up. And then like do you see where that's like even more confusing and where people could go, oh, my biology doesn't even fit the gender I'm supposed to be, so how can I be expected to be the gender that I was born?
I think, if I'm understanding you correctly, Brooklyn, that you are bringing up such an important um, point. And if I would just if I'm to summarize it correctly, I think essentially you're saying that we have socially we've been in a direction of get rid of gender differences, basically. And one of the positives of such a claim is that it creates space for anyone to feel comfortable with whatever sort of position on a gender spectrum they feel like they're on. And learning about biological differences of the genders can make someone feel out of the group, ostracized. Is that is that a correct summary? Is that what you're
Yeah.
thinking?
Yeah, I mean it's saying, look, normal boys are like this, normal girls are like this. So if you're not normal, something's wrong with you. you don't fit in. You know, what do you do with that? Right?
I think, yeah, I think that this would be an awesome time for me to be trying to get a PhD in something like you are, and I'm so proud of you for trying to do that. But in my unfiltered and unqualified opinion, I think that it is dangerous for society to say that there's no differences between the gender. Like you said, it feels like the culture's been moving to, and instead, it would be healthier to push an agenda and a discourse of accepting and loving people who are outside of the majority and outside of average. Instead of pretending that an average doesn't exist, I think we should emphasize that minorities still have value. Um, that would be my attempt at that, and my very
Yeah, I guess I just see where this is like such a difficult line to live on, because how do you accept that minorities are okay while you're also affirming strong gender differences?
Does anyone else want to take a stab at it? There's
Yeah, I
often
just
aid in multiple viewpoints and ways.
no, you're good. I feel like, I mean, if that's the logic that's applied though, then I feel like the exact same can be said. How do you know that the majority is okay if it's the minorities that are being emphasized? And so even if you're to take the stance that, well, we're not emphasizing anybody, we're just saying everyone is on the equal playing field, because the biology is inherently set up to be distributed differently and also more concentrated in certain areas, that would be on average more damaging, I believe. Because rather than looking at the normalized scale of how people lined up, how they tend to line up on average, and so then you're able to work with, okay, at least looking at what would benefit, yes, the majority, and yeah, it does hurt minorities, but on either side, it would hurt somebody. And so if you're looking from like a utilitarian perspective, I think looking at it on the side of, well, at least there's a clearly defined male and there's a clearly defined female role, then on average, you are capturing the majority of the population. So I love that idea though, Brooklyn, of, well, just because we're looking at the majority doesn't mean that we forget about the minority. Because for sure we do that. And I think that, or we need to do that. We need to not forget about them. We need to make sure to love and lift them. And I think that the approach that Joseph was mentioning too is that like, we do want to affirm what the biology is there, right? Like pretending that biology is not different doesn't change biology, right? But just because biology is this way, then it's like what you're saying, Brooklyn, that we don't have to draw distinct lines that are arbitrarily made because of the biology. For instance, a man might be better at seeing moving objects, but that doesn't mean he should be the only one that is on the battlefield, for instance. I don't know. I mean, I think a woman can still definitely see if a tank is rolling after her. I don't think that's like the fine line that needs to be drawn, right? So I think
I can't find the RPG. I can't find it.
Yeah,
It's right
you see what I
there.
mean? So I agree with you. I think I love Joseph's beginning themes that he's been bringing throughout at the beginning, where it's like, yeah, I mean, if you go too far one way or the other way, it's still bad. So it's being able to live in that life of having complexity, but if we can move beyond the complexity to have simplicity beyond complexity, then we live with understanding what the biology says, that yeah, there are these differences typically in men and women, and so we can typically live according to them. But in those atypical scenarios, that's where we have that love and that understanding that, yeah, inherently is more difficult because there's a greater barrier of entry, I guess you could say, of that stereotypical gender role. Hopefully that made sense. That was a big long spiel.
Yeah, no, that's good. Thank you. And yeah, I do want to just like clarify that I wasn't saying necessarily that we should like pick one or the other and emphasize them the most, which I acknowledge that you kind of do have to do that in general. I'm just saying, like, how do we go about acknowledging both and a lot, like helping people feel valued in both ways. And so, like you're saying, Nephi, about understanding the simplicity and the complexity, that's important. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Well, I'm always grateful when I'm surrounded by people smarter than myself. I think I'm gonna have to rewatch this once or two times to be able to map out the whole flow of that on paper. And I think it's totally fine as well. I don't know, maybe just Nephi's voice became white noise to me and it turned off, or he was just like basically speaking in an Adamic language right there. It's probably the latter. But um, if does anyone else have anything else they want to add to it before we hear track number 11?
I'm game.
All right, then let the game begin. Continue.
Take risks. Researchers in Missouri studied the responses of kids who rode a stationary bicycle while watching a hyper-realistic simulation. When confronted with a hazard, the boys were much slower to brake than the girls. If it was real, many of the boys would have been seriously injured. The boys also reported feeling excited during a simulated collision, while the girls reported feeling fearful. Females are easier to startle.
Any surprises there? I feel like that's a pretty accepted fact. Okay.
So,
And
I just
now
remember
number
there was
12.
one. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
I just remember when we were in scout camp one time, we were at one of our scout leaders' properties down in Eureka, and we came up with the super fun game where the kids had to make it from one side of the acre to the other side of the acre. And it was like all this grass and trees and everything. And the leaders were on four-wheelers, and they were just running around, and we almost got run over a few times. So that made me think of that when we're more likely to take risks.
A story to not tell mom, right? Hi, Aunt Nikki.
Mhm.
All right.
This was demonstrated in a scary stimuli study, which measured fear through the electrical conductivity of the skin. Women exhibit stronger emotional responses to the anticipation of pain. Males are more likely to overestimate their ability. When a professor looked at male and female students that graduated from the same university with the same business degree, he found that the starting salaries of the men were on average of $4,000 more.
So sexist.
Wait, that's not the whole story. It turned out that only 7% of the females asked for a higher starting salary versus 57% of the males. So the actual result of the study is, if you're confident enough to ask for a higher starting salary, irregardless of your gender, you're more likely to get a higher starting salary. But it's not all dandy for the boys. Overestimation of ability also leads to things like drowning. Males are more likely to die from an accident than females. As mentioned, males are more likely to take risks and overestimate.
Okay, I just want to pause just for all of our wonderful viewers who are visual and not audio, just to look at this girl's awesome pictures she found. This is like the most jacked Harry Potter wannabe I've ever seen in my life.
That looks real to me, man. He's flying on that broomstick.
Yeah, I bet he just jumped out of the window and was like, hey, take a picture.
No, he's definitely flying. I mean, look at him. He's in the air.
That's true. That's true. I take it back.
Okay. Yeah, well, we'll keep going then.
Estimate their ability. Psychologists at Boston University estimate that this is probably why most drowning victims are male. Boys are way more likely to do dangerous things. They're way less likely to listen to the warnings of their parents, and they're way less likely to tell anyone if they do have an accident. US data shows that boys are significantly more likely to die of an accident like the misuse of a firearm or a head injury from riding a bike. And this goes way deeper. Let's say that the same amount of men and women were to get head injuries. The damage would still be worse in men. Researchers at the Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh discovered that there's a difference in the way brain cells die in men and women after injury. Once brain injury occurs, glutathione remains stable in females, but has an up to of an 80% drop in males, resulting in greater brain cell death. This could also be a contributing factor in the difference between overall longevity in men and women. Men are more likely to brain scans, controlled studies.
Oh no, I accidentally restarted it. I'll try to find it. Do you guys remember what number that just was?
It was like 16 or something.
Yeah, 16.
Okay.
But while you're finding
Well.
it, oh my gosh, you have no idea how many times I hear people say, yeah, men die more often than women on average. They must just be stupider. And I'm like, well, first off, stupider is not a word. But second off, you're also women aren't required to sign up for the draft. And third of all, we're just built different, okay? Too bad. Men have to suck it up more, I guess. But
Ooh.
then fourth of all, I'm also like, yeah, I guess that's just life.
I'm gonna put the draft on the next grab bag. That's actually a good one to discuss in the future.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny though? It's got that double whammy that guys are more likely to do risky things and their brains are more likely to die from trauma.
Yeah,
It's
no
like,
wonder why they're more likely
oh,
to
what?
die.
What led that up? That's funny.
Yeah,
Okay, I think I
totally.
found where we are. Alright,
or
Jared?
a head injury from riding a bike. And this goes way deeper. Let's say that the same amount of men and women were to get head injuries. The damage would still be injury. Once brain injury occurs, glutathione remains stable in females, but has overall longevity in men and women. Men are more likely to perceive a neutral face as unfriendly. During puberty, vasopressin influences a boy's brain to perceive neutral faces as unfriendly. Researchers in Maine gave a single dose of vasopressin to teenagers and found that the girls were more likely to see neutral faces as friendly, while the boys were more likely to interpret them as unfriendly or hostile. Males are more likely to exhibit
Whoa.
aggression.
Can I say something on that real fast? I think it's really interesting.
Please.
It's like there are plenty of times that I've also heard girls be like, it's so annoying that guys always expect girls to like be all super flirty and nice and kind. When in like reality, like if I'm just like feeling like nothing, then I can just feel like nothing. But I'm like, well, that makes sense because if we just interpret it, like if we have a higher tendency to interpret neutral as negative, then it makes sense why girls feel like there's that pressure to not be the neutral, that they have to play up the happy feelings, I guess, you know?
Yeah, makes sense.
That is fascinating. I didn't even think of that, and makes sense why girls who are, I guess you say, naturally more bubbly get the guys. It's because girls who might just have like nothing wrong with a natural face, but for some reason guys interpret natural faces as hostile. So yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it's not just guys and girls. Like it's also a great idea for a guy, right? If you have your boss around, you want to smile at your boss. You don't want if you're just like working on your computer, he might take it as, oh, well, that employee, they're mad, you know? So
Yeah.
good to know.
Yeah.
We're looking for the danger so we can protect our wives. That's why we're trained to look for aggression, so we can take it out with our aggression. Hoorah!
Love Brooklyn smile on that.
Physically, while females are more likely to exhibit aggression verbally. This difference has been documented in almost all other mammals. We used to attribute it to testosterone, but now we know that it's because we've evolved to process anger differently. A male's aggression pathways are more directly connected to the brain areas for physical action. A female's aggression pathways are closer linked to her verbal function. Males have a larger amygdala, which is the center for aggression. Females have a larger and faster maturing prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for inhibiting aggression. Males have a more active right amygdala, which is responsible for taking action and negative emotions. Females have a more active left amygdala, which is responsible for a more mental reaction than a physical reaction. Some men have what is called autocatalytic anger, which means that it is self-reinforcing and that it inhibits their fear and actually produces sensations of pleasure. Although most women are slower to act out of anger, once their verbal reaction starts, it's hard to stop. These brain differences exist because they've helped our survival. Females are generally smaller than males, so being violent towards someone twice your size is a great way to put an end to your genetic legacy. Females are often vulnerable because they're encumbered by pregnancy or infants, so their survival has been contingent on their social group. Because females have had to band together for their protection, fighting other females is also a really risky thing to do. Another reason why females have evolved the brain circuitry to prevent outbursts of anger is so that they're less likely to hurt their children. A male's survival is linked to his rank, dominance, and power, And these things, even today, can be attained by physical confrontation. But aggression isn't necessarily a bad thing. Men have been the valiant defenders of their tribe, their land, and their family. These things all need acts of violence. If you're still unconvinced, look at the modern jungle, the high school. Boys fight with their...
I'm seeing some good comments and chuckles being shared between Tanner and Kyla. Y'all want to enlighten us on anything?
I just
Ooh,
thought it
give
was
us
funny how
specific details.
she said encumbered like in video games, when you're just carrying too much and then you physically slow down.
You are
There's
encumbered.
Being encumbered with children, carrying too much in
Mhm.
more ways than one.
Yeah.
Mentally and physically, carrying too much. Sometimes that's what it is.
That's funny. Wow, as a almost toddler in the 99th percentile for weight and height, I agree with you more now than any other time in my life.
Mhm.
fists,
You're saying you're
girls
that
fight with
toddler?
gossip.
What was that?
Sorry, that was just a joke. But I wanted to say that I thought that was interesting, because I definitely have a tendency to, like after I have an argument with someone or after someone says something that frustrates me, then my mind spins about it for hours and I like build up the frustration in my head for a long time. And so I guess it's cool to know that that's biological, not that it's fun, but
I feel like when that happens with us, I'm like, okay, well, we talked about it, we're done, and then I just
And I
don't think
keep
about it
stewing on
again.
it.
Yeah,
Forever.
that's interesting.
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, look at that. Again, another one of those examples where knowing the difference not only helps you to have better expectations for you and your partner, but also to just know what I don't know what can do to get on the same page again. Yeah, the guy can be understanding if the girl's like, hey, I know we've talked about this twice already, but I thought about it a third time. And the girl can be understanding if the guy forgot that he had thought about it at some point. Okay. Well, let's keep rolling then.
Women use both sides of their brain to respond to emotional experience, while men just use one. A study from Stanford showed that when a female was shown an emotional image, 9 areas of her brain lit up, versus only 2 in the male brain. Women are also better at retaining memories that are emotional in nature. Women read subtle emotion better than men. Women recognize signs of sadness in a face about 90% of the time, while men only 40% of the time. This is probably why women evolved to cry 4 times more than men. It's a visual display of sadness that will be obvious to any man. A Stanford study...
I saw your face say some words there, Brooklyn. Was there a thought you wanted to share?
Uh, I just died over the fact that men only notice 40% of the time compared to 90% if someone's sad. And just, I don't know, it's just funny, I guess. It's just funny because being a female, it's really easy to notice emotions. And they're really obvious and they're important and a big deal. They feel like the most significant part of a person's countenance. And so it's always baffling to me when men don't pick up on that because I'm just like, what? Like, it's glaring. It's like flashing lights at us. It's right there, and so that's really interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is interesting.
I appreciate that you have, like she said, been more evolved to cry, so that I know when you're sad, my dear. Thanks for shedding those tears for me, not for you.
It's funny you bring that up, Joseph. I actually felt like I don't know if I agree with that. Like, it sounds like by the research that they found that okay, there's the 4 times more likely to cry, but she said that yeah, and that's just because women evolved in order to like better get the attention. But I feel like that doesn't make much sense then because guys like they would still have to be able to interpret that in other guys too, right? And so wouldn't you still just have to be more expressive anyways?
Unless they don't feel a need to emotionally unpack with other guys.
I guess like it's
Yeah,
not that that's a
or
good point. That is true.
or if the role of the man is to like protect the woman, then the woman just needs to make sure the man knows when she is in distress. Um, that's how
So
I
then
took
do
it.
women
Like
cry less around men then? Because that's kind of the implication, or less around women, other women. So
True.
that's kind of the implication. If they cry for men for boys,
Mm,
then would they cry less for women? I don't know. You guys or you women tell me.
Testimony
I
it
meeting.
would
doesn't mean they
say,
have to cry. It doesn't mean they have to cry less around them. It just means that the reason why a potential reason or factor why they might cry more than men is to communicate to men. But I guess that doesn't necessarily mean it has to turn off though, just because you're around a woman.
But like, what do you
I
think?
haven't
Cry
thought
less
about
around other
that.
women or around men more?
I think I cry for different reasons. Like if I'm sad or distressed, I think I'm only like comfortable enough to cry around like you. But like I'm thinking like testimony meeting at girls camp growing up, right? Like tears everywhere, but they're not sad tears, they're not distressed tears, they're tears of like, oh, that welling in the soul, like of this, like feeling the spirit so strongly, and like they're happy tears. So I think around other women it's easier to do like happy tears, and then around you just all the tears.
Okay. Brooklyn, you said you had something you want to say too?
Yeah, I feel like women don't cry more around a guy than they would a girl necessarily, but I would say a woman will cry around either a guy or a girl if her feelings build up to that point that it feels that strong, right? But I'd say that like when a girl interacts with a girl and she looks a little sad or a little irritated or a little something, then it's more likely that the other woman will notice that little emotion and will talk it out with her and relieve that bit. And whereas with a guy, he's less likely to notice that little emotion. And so if the woman isn't like, if she decides not to like draw it out and talk it out with him, because sometimes women are like, oh, well, you didn't ask or you didn't notice, then you didn't care, you know. If she tucks it away because of that, then I think then gradually as more of those little moments happen where she feels something frustrating but he doesn't notice, and so they don't talk about it, those will build up to a point where she cries because it's all pent up inside of her and it's so much. But maybe that pent up is likely to happen for like a different reason around a guy.
I like
It's
it.
Feeling
interesting.
like that
I
didn't
feel
make
like the
sense to you
guys
guys.
stereotypically bottle it
Fix
up.
it. But
I just think it's interesting because I feel like the guys stereotypically bottle up their emotions more. But
But then they don't feel a need to like express
Yeah.
them. They find other ways to unleash
well,
them.
I think it's just a timeline of the outburst. I think men still do, but it's just on a different scale.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, with that, I'm actually gonna propose that we end here for the night. We have passed our 1 hour mark and we're almost smack dab halfway. It'd be a good stopping point. Do people want to end it and continue another time, or are we like choo choo all aboard on the Powwow Express and we're loving this?
I am loving
I
it.
see.
I mean, we got time. I'd rather do some more now. I can't guarantee the
Okay.
future.
Okay, that's good. Let us keep going then. Woo!
Wait, hold on. It's
I
on like
love it. That
was
makes
gonna
me
say
happy.
something though. Brooklyn, if you need to tap out too, no worries.
I am in favor of ending it, but I guess I'm wondering how long you guys want to go.
Oh, not much longer. I was thinking like 15 more minutes.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, we'll go till 9:45 then. Let's do this thing.
You may have also indicated that little girls will recognize faked facial expressions better than little boys. In terms of evolution, it makes sense for females to read facial cues better than males because they need to be able to interpret the physical needs of nonverbal babies. A male's brain circuits will use more vasopressin and testosterone, while a female's will use more oxytocin and estrogen. When you give a man just one dose of oxytocin, his ability to read subtle facial cues improves dramatically. Males and females are not empathetic in the same way. We have two emotional systems, the mirror neuron system and the temporal parietal junction system. The MNS is responsible for emotional empathy. It allows you to feel what the other person is feeling. The TPJ is responsible for cognitive empathy. It actually allows you to distance yourself from the person's emotions, focusing instead on analytically solving the problem. We see this clash all the time. A woman will tell her man of a problem she's having, looking for emotional support. But if he is unable to solve her problem, he won't understand the point of having a lengthy conversation about it. A male's mirror neuron system is also more fragile and can be stunted by pacifier use.
Tanner, that was a pretty intense look at Kyla there. Many things
Yeah,
were spoken without words.
Whenever Kyla gives me a problem, I'm like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna fix this, and then we're done. And then that's not gonna fix it ever. You know?
I love how pink your face is getting, Tanner.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I
So,
think that this just shows that men are just stereotypically very solution oriented, very much get the problem out of the way, and then women more want to talk about it. But am I wrong there?
and it shows how important it is to remember that and recognize that, because it's important as a guy to try and set aside our desires for the conversation, and important for the girl to recognize that she's asking for unnatural responses for the guy. You know,
Mhm.
it's always a two-way street and finding these solutions, but recognizing reality and that there is that difference is the first step in coming together and getting on the same page again. And why it's dangerous to pretend differences aren't there. So
Mhm.
Love
And I feel
that.
like I've been better at this part at least a little bit. I'll try to be like, man, that sounds really hard, you know?
I noticed when you do
And
that,
you know,
that you're trying really hard.
I feel like it's
Yeah, I'm trying.
I appreciate it.
I
But
know.
it just means that
I
it's
could-
hard.
I could feel the emotional relief from Tanner's sentence there. When you just give him a 30-minute monologue of everything wrong and he just says, "That's tough." Boom. It gets so much
Good.
better. Wow.
And the
I mean,
famous
I
phrase,
laugh,
"You
but
feel good."
honestly, Tanner, I will say that sentence does go a long way. So you and
Mhm.
I are on the same page there, man. That's
That's
funny.
so funny.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of y'all have seen, but have y'all ever seen that meme that's like, got this text message from my boyfriend when my taco fell apart or something, and it's like, wow, that really stinks. Are you like solution oriented, or do you want to talk about it right now? She's like, just talk
Mhm.
about it, and he's like, yeah, that sucks. And then she's like, yeah, that's better. But
I remember that. That's a funny meme. Thanks for bringing that up, Nephi. Dang. All right. I'll rewind it just a little bit. I didn't quite get what this pacifier thing was about. Doo, doo, doo.
The mirror neuron system is also more fragile and can be stunted by pacifier use. The most interesting study that indicates that women are more emotionally empathetic was conducted at the Institute of Neurology in London. They tested couples. First, the women were hooked up to a series of electric shocks. Then the men were given the same treatment. It was indicated to the woman when and what kind of shock was being administered to their partner. And even though the females couldn't hear or see their loved ones, the same pain areas that lit up when they were getting the shocks themselves lit up as they learned that their partners were being subjected to the same treatment. Researchers were unable to duplicate these results with males. Men thrive in conflict. Women
wow, I
Okay.
feel like
I think that's.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Nephi.
No, you got it.
The silence is so painful. Take it away.
Okay. I'm just gonna say I feel like it's kind of like a cold-hearted bio thing, to where it's just like, what? Do you not care about me? And it's like, well, actually, no, not as much. It seems like in situations like that. I don't know. You know.
I think
Well,
that's like similar with babies too, because like Kyla is way more empathetic to our baby's screams, whereas I'm like if he's like learning to crawl on the floor and he's like face planting and crying and everything, I'm like, man, he's just got to learn. He's just gonna learn. And Kyla's like, oh no, we gotta get over there. We gotta help him.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that's just interesting.
well, and I do not think that it's fair to say that the lack or increased amounts of empathy is better than one or the other, because I think this could be a great example of where a guy's impulse and natural course to like eliminate the problem is great. Like I don't know if you're if some right like this is like a very um artificial life circumstance where you have in advance said, yeah, I will be shocked and agreed to being shocked. But in real life, I think that it would like you can see how the father or the husband's role of what's the problem, get rid of the problem is very helpful in that situation. Get rid of that electric chair, you know, and where the mother's or wife's role goes along right with that, and they're both needed. I'm talking for a child, for parents to come in and to save the child from the immediate pain and harm and situation, and then to have the relief and healing that comes with the emotional connection. They're two essential parts that not not recognizing the different strengths and the different genders make it really easy to feel frustrated at each other. Instead of admiring and feeling grateful that one another has those strengths, it's easy to feel frustrated at the wife to want me to just listen and talk about the feelings, or frustrating that the husband doesn't understand me or only wants to fix the problem, you know? Like that kind of perspective is missing the whole point, is missing the advantage that our gender differences bring. Um,
I
that
love that.
was my soapbox. So, oh, I got to start giving shorter responses, y'all. I know that it's getting later and that it's harder to pay attention. So I feel flattered that y'all are still here at all. Um, we're at number 21. And if instead of stopping at 45, if we want to stop on 25, so we can have a nice even split, I'd be down for that too. So let's
Alex,
continue.
on to that.
Women avoid it. Females are more concerned with social approval and preserving relationships. Men tend to get a positive chemical boost from conflict and competition, while in women it elicits a negative response. If a woman feels that one of her close relationships is in trouble, she may experience a change in her serotonin and dopamine levels, which will elicit a response on the similar spectrum as a small seizure. Overall, females have more brain circuitry dedicated to monitoring close relationships than men. Now, don't misunderstand me. This isn't because girls are better human beings than boys or something. This is an incredibly powerful survival tactic. It's even seen in other primates like baboons. The female baboon with the most social connectivity will have the most surviving young. As I already mentioned, in nature, females are more vulnerable, so their survival depends on social ties. Men are aroused under stress, while
Just one thought I had with that is I think that's maybe why guys can watch a pretty intense action scene and feel exhilarated and admire the grit and the sacrifice and the valor that they see these characters exhibit, and where a woman can see the same action and feel sick or scared or frustrated at the destruction, the breakdown of social connections, and be really turned off by it. Um, I don't know. Yeah, that's the
That's
2 cents there, everyone. Yeah. It's okay to watch Lord of the Rings, guys. The epic battle scenes are awesome. I rest my case.
Females are turned off. Men will get an extra sexual kick when stress levels are high. In fact, they will actually bond better with females under an aggressive or stressful environment. By contrast, a female is more likely to reject a male's advances in a stressful environment. Cortisol blocks the reception of oxytocin in female brains, shutting off her desire for physical touch. And if a woman does have sex under stress, she will not be able to attain orgasm because her amygdala is active. From an evolutionary perspective, this makes perfect sense. If a female is stressed, this is likely a reaction to an unstable environment, under which getting pregnant is a terrible idea. But for a male, a dangerous environment is actually an incentive to try and procreate with as many women as possible, because it increases the odds of his genetic survival in tumultuous times. Men and women use different parts of the brain during sexual arousal. Women, the ventromedial hypothalamus and the cerebral cortex. Sexual experience in women is more connected with the rest of what's going on in her head and the world around her. Men, the hypothalamus, specifically the medial preoptic area, and the amygdala. The medial preoptic area guides the performance of sexuality, while the amygdala creates the motivation for sex. This is probably why men are more likely than women to conflate violence with sexuality. Men are easier.
Wow. That was a couple fast ones back to back. Boom, boom, boom. And we're now at 25 and pretty much at 9:45. Any last concluding thoughts on those last topics we just launched through real fast?
I just thought it was funny that when she's talking about sexual relations and how men are stoked, she showed just a picture of like the Napoleonic Wars.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something about that competition, that valor, right? And that
Mhm.
hardcore just being a hero that gets us pumped. I love it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I loved it too. I think just thinking the whole overall thing, I loved it tonight. Thank you guys. It was awesome.
Super enlightening.
Well,
Hey, thanks for inviting me along.
Yeah. And I am now going to blame everything on
you.
my
It was so
biology
fun.
and not take any responsibility for anything I do.
why, Tanner?
Solid.
Because boys will be boys.
Wow.
We jest.
Oh, well, it is always a humbling and pleasurable experience to be surrounded by people smarter than myself and hear y'all's insights. It was a blast, and I look forward to doing the part 2 soon. So TBD, TBD.
Awesome. Thank you.
Weird now.
All right, recording has ended. Thank you
Sweet.
guys. That was so fun.
That was